Greetings, acolytes of the Force, and welcome back. I have been expecting you. Darth Malgus is a titanic Sith brute who is one of our favourite characters to cover here on the channel, in my personal opinion, being the greatest character in all of fiction, period. Unquestionably in Star Wars, Darth Malgus was an enigmatic, powerful, brutish, hulkish character who powered through enemy lines very similar and myriad to the way Darth Vader would do many millennia later. Darth Malgus seems unstoppable with his clear rage, brute strength, focus, and almost indomitable lightsaber combat and resistance, including his durability allowing him to resist every single force attack and physical attack he has ever been dealt with minimal to no injury. Darth Malgus seems like an impossible foe to put down, a dog that just keeps coming back to life. Malgus uses his dark side attunement and immersefulness in the entire dark side itself in order to sustain his life. Darth Malgus has an exceptional array of powers which we have covered in a video, documented the full power of Darth Malgus, delegating whether or whether or not he is the greatest fighter in all of Star Wars history. But there is one matter I believe we need to address. This matter is how Darth Malgus, in all his wisdom, brute strength, knowledge, ideology, and pure power, was finally put down, while this Sith was not on the level of some such as Palpatine, Vader, and Vitiate. How, in the end, was Dark Lord of the Sith Darth Malgus finally defeated? As you could know, in the Old Republic Legacy of the Sith Expansion Edition, Darth Malgus has not actually died. But a few years ago, roughly 4 years ago, there was actually a canonical death in Legends for Darth Malgus, and I am going to describe it to you right here. I hope that you enjoy our content. We pour a lot of our effort in ensuring that you get the most comprehensive outlook on the Star Wars galaxy possible. I'll see you in the tombs of Korriban as we venture to the throne room of false Emperor Malgus. Our story begins. The Jedi and the Sith have both realized that Malgus has distanced himself from the Sith Order, with Malgus leaving the Empire in a fit of rage after the Empire and Vitiate, under the understanding sway of Revan, who had been telekinetically forcing and persuading Vitiate to put off his invasion of the Republic for over 3 centuries in solitary confinement. Malgus left after Vitiate agreed to negotiate a peace treaty and barter Coruscant, the primary planet the Jedi Order operated from and the home of their temple, which Malgus had just destroyed, in order to gain more land and to put the Sith Empire in power. Malgus was enraged by this and left the Order, fighting Jedi Knight Aaron Lena, a former Padawan of Jedi Master Venzala who Malgus had recently murdered. Darth Malgus then proceeded to start up his own organization, recruiting Force sensitives that the Jedi and Sith neglected, that the Jedi deemed not powerful enough in the Force to train, with Malgus unlocking their abilities. Malgus saw, after living in isolation for few years, training few pupils, that with the supposed death of Vitiate at the hands of the hero of Tython, and Vitiate's spirit fleeing to Zyos in order to incur chaos and disruption, Malgus saw his time. He enacted his plan. He went around the galaxy, finding any Force sensitives he could that the Jedi and the Sith had not laid their hands on, creating a fierce army. At the height of his power, there were few in the entire galaxy who could defeat Malgus. One would be the hero of Tython, another potentially Lord Scourge, and one other being Vitiate, Revan, Bastila Shan, and Satele Shan. Darth Malgus now was exceptionally skilled, more skilled than he would ever be in all of Star Wars history. With his lightsaber skills beyond comprehensible at this point, Malgus appeared as a blur of crimson rather than an actual mortal man, a shadow motioning through the darkness. In the end, Malgus was causing disruption and igniting the fires of war that was incurring power struggles throughout the entire galaxy between the Sith and the Jedi. The Sith and the Jedi agreed that they needed to temporarily put aside their differences in order to subdue Malgus, and in worst case scenario, kill him. Malgus was unprepared for this attack, which is the primary reason it led to his supposed death. What the Jedi and the Sith did was they plotted, scanned Malgus and where he occasionally went, got trackers to keep tabs on him, spies, various different entities throughout the Star Wars galaxy in order to ensure they knew the exact time and place and where Malgus would be. Malgus was resting in his throne room, currently pondering how he would dominate the galaxy. There were few beings in the galaxy who could match, nevertheless surpass his strength. As far as he was concerned, Vitiate had been vanquished, and he was now the true sole Sith Lord. Revan was soon to be murdered. Revan had been attempting to resurrect the spirit of Vitiate, and Malgus knew that the people would unite against him. The only person he had to worry about now was Satele Shan. So, Satele Shan, leading a strike team of Jedi as well as Sith, roughly around 15, with the Jedi and the Sith each bringing around 7 players to the table. They went in and caught Malgus relaxing in his throne room, catching him off guard in a surprise attack. Malgus reacted as a Sith warrior would and Emperor. He drew his lightsaber and began battering down his enemies, going for the less skilled in order to drive them away and isolate them. Malgus was able to kill up to what we consider to be 5 enemies before he was finally put down. But how did Malgus die? Let's explain it even more in depth. What happened was, as Malgus was presumably fighting Satele Shan, Darth Malgus was forced to the edge of a reactor shaft, very similar to how, and reminiscent to how Palpatine in the Battle of Endor, over Endor, fell into the reactor shaft of the Death Star and perished, his spirit fleeing to the unknown regions in order to inhabit a clone body on Exegol. That's the canon version, at least. The Measures version is much more contemplated and complicated, and we are certain to visit it at a later date. Darth Malgus was forced into the reactor shaft, exploding in blue energy. With Darth Malgus now dead, the Jedi strike team grieved their losses, with the Sith leaving immediately, foregoing their peace treaty, and saying that the war was now on. There is also a deleted cameo that was in the Star Wars The Old Republic Knights of the Eternal Throne Expansion Edition. In this expansion edition, including Knights of the Fallen Empire, we can see that Malgus has been frozen and preserved in carbonite by Vitiate. Malgus' spirit and body seems to be very much intact. So this either means that the past few minutes of explaining his in-depth death to you was meaningless, and that they actually neglected that in the end, or that they somehow, the Eternal Empire, whether it was Arcan, Thexan, Valen, or Valkorion himself, managed to recover Malgus' body and corpse, and managed to freeze him in carbonite, and hanging him up like a trophy on the wall. I can 100% imagine Vitiate in his picturesque and all-powerful, essentially godlike embodiment of the dark side, hanging up one of his most bitter rivals as a trophy, an ornamentary being, frozen in carbonite. Malgus attempted to gain control of the Sith Empire after Vitiate supposedly was killed. And Vitiate, reminiscent and glorious, a heartless, merciless monster, saw that he could insult Malgus even in his supposed death. Of course, this would mean that Malgus would have had to have been unfrozen from carbonite at some point if the chronological timeline of the Old Republic is continuing. Anyway, my friends, what did you think of this video? I am compiling a Darth Malgus lore compilation that I'll release sometime in the next few weeks. Goodbye, my friends. This is where we part ways. Enjoy educating yourself in the Sith libraries, reading up on HoloNet, studying holobooks and holocrons, as we prepare to venture into the depths of unknown space. Next week and next video, we are going to venture into the pores of death itself. Goodbye, and I'll see you in a galaxy far, far away.